The ship sailed across the wild Atlantic. For weeks, the only sounds were the creaking of the ship and the howling of the wind. The crew were tormented by the feeling that they were being watched, and when they looked up in the darkness, they saw the spectral forms of the sea spirits. They had followed the ship from the coast of Africa. Now they were coming for the crew. One night, as the ship was tossed about in the heavy seas, a sailor climbed up the rigging to get a better look at what was going on in the darkness. But the wind tore at his clothes, and the salt spray stung his eyes. He could barely see the shadowy forms dancing on the waves, but he could feel their cold, malicious presence all around him. And then one of the sea spirits reached out a hand towards him, and he screamed and scrambled away. The next morning, the crew found a new member. A lifeboat had come during the night and dropped in a replacement sailor. But who was the sailor? No one knew. He didn't know anyone on the ship, and no one knew where he'd come from. He was just there. And as the days passed, no one dared to ask him any questions. They were all afraid of what the answer might be. Then one day, the ship was caught in a terrible storm. The waves were like mountains, and the wind was a roaring beast. The men clung to the rigging for their lives, but it seemed as if the ship would be torn apart. And then the mysterious sailor spoke up. He gave orders, and the men followed him, even though they didn't know him and didn't trust him. Somehow they managed to ride out the storm, and when the sun came up, they looked around to see who had saved them. But the sailor was gone. The men searched the ship from bow to stern, but they couldn't find him anywhere. Then they went up into the crow's nest, and there they found his clothes, ripped and tattered. But it wasn't the clothes that made them gasp in horror. It was what was inside the pocket. The sailor had been keeping a small doll, a voodoo doll, and it was made from the skin of a human child.